Hello guys, welcome to my YouTube channel. This is me, your data buddy Kingsley, and today we will talk about a very crucial topic that is mostly overlooked by upcoming data analysts and even those who are transitioning into the position. And it is known as requirement gathering. You heard it right, requirement gathering. Whether you're just starting out or you are transitioning into this beautiful field, requirement gathering is something you cannot run away from. It is an essential skill you must have if you want to succeed in this industry. So understanding how to gather and define your project is an essential skill for you as a data analyst. And many data analysts actually skip this essential and important step. But you know what? I don't fully blame them because it's not always their fault. This is because most times it wasn't actually emphasized during their training phase. Whether you are actually told or it was not emphasized to you, failing to gather requirements during any project can lead to costly mistakes and unmet expectations down the line. Now let's talk about why. To simply put, requirement gathering is the process of understanding what the stakeholders need, what the problem you need to solve, and the data you need to meet these objectives. This is the foundation of data analysis projects. Now, as a data analyst, you are often translating the business needs into actionable insight. And if you do not have a clear understanding of the problem you're solving from the start, your analysis will likely fall short. And the common mistake I see a lot of data analysts make is that they quickly go in and pull data and start analyzing, then build out reports and dashboard without even understanding what the stakeholder needs. Now, why is this crucial part of data analysis project often overlooked? From experience, I'm going to give you 3 reasons why this is mostly overlooked. Number 1, training gap. Many training programs, universities, and boot camps often focus on the technical skills. Things like Python, R, SQL, Power BI, Tableau, Looker Studio, Excel. These are important skill sets needed to execute any data analysis project. But it's also important that you understand what you want to actually execute. So they don't really spend enough time trying to explain requirement gathering process or even create a case study where a requirement gathering is actually needed. Sometimes they assume that the analyst will kind of pick up these skills during their job. But let us face it, not every company will be patient enough to allow you to learn on the job. Some want you to come in and quickly deliver as fast as possible. And remember, most jobs, you have about 3 to 6 months of probation, and you don't want to start messing around. You want to be able to pass your probation. And this is the time to actually show that everything you say you have in your CV and you also talked about during your interview, you are able to do them and do them efficiently. So the number 2 is pressure to deliver quickly. You see, when we talk about a fast-paced environment, there is always this rush to want to pick up a project and deliver. Sometimes from the top management and sometimes even within ourselves. We want to show that we are actually able to do it and then we quickly deliver without even knowing what we want to deliver. We just want to show that we are able to build dashboard, shiny dashboard. We are able to run very long and efficient SQL code. But it's important that you understand the problem you're even solving. So in a fast-paced environment, you can't be under this pressure to want to quickly produce a project instead of actually understanding the project you need to produce or to build. And most times, this leads to you understanding that, alright, so this data I even analyzed is actually the wrong data. Or the KPIs and measures that I have actually calculated and analyzed or built, it's actually the wrong one. So, what does that mean? You start all over. And that is usually not a good experience from your side, nor from the management side. Number 3, there is this misconception that data speaks for itself. A lot of data analysts quickly dive into the data and expect the data to tell each story. Imagine that. You are the data storyteller, not the data itself. Now, if you don't properly gather your requirements, you will likely get answers to the questions that are not asked. There is no way you go into data that you will not see answers to both asked and unasked questions. But the importance of requirement gathering here is that you hang on to that problem that you are trying to solve. Because in this life, let's face it, you solve one problem at a time. So without a proper requirement gathering, you will tend to start floating, keep trying to answer questions that falls in from left and right without being focused on the problem you want to solve. But a proper requirement gathering will get you to be focused and take away all the noise around, filter out all the noise around, get you to be focused and deliver value within a short time, because it's important. Time is of essence in this thing we are doing. Let's talk about the impact of skipping requirement gathering during your data analysis process or projects. Number one, misaligned deliverables. Skipping requirement gathering during your data analysis process often leads to results in deliverables that do not meet the stakeholders' expectation. It leads to miscommunication, waste of time, and ultimately leads to frustration on both the stakeholder side and your side. So it doesn't pay anyone. It doesn't pay the company, the stakeholders, and yourself. It doesn't pay anyone. Stick to the standard. And number two, it increases rework. Trust me, you don't want to go back and start all over. And this is what skipping requirement gathering does. You go out there, you float, you answer questions that you were asked and the ones that you were not asked, and you return with so many information. And in the long run, your stakeholder or the project owner says, this is not what I want. This is actually outside what I want. It feels bad, and you get to go back and start to redo your work again. It doesn't bring nice experience in your work. It leads to loads of frustration, time wasting on your side, and even a waste of the company's resources. So rework is not just mostly time consuming, but also expensive in terms of missed opportunities and deadlines. And number three, and very important one, damage to your credibility. You don't want that. If this art of reworking your dashboard or reports, going back to get the right data, or not even asking the right question continues often, you are definitely going to lose credibility from your managers, from the top management. This is not a position you want to find yourself as a data professional. You don't want stakeholders to lose confidence in you. And you know what it means? Whenever they need data, they remember you're the one that needs to get them this data. They just feel like there is no need. And you don't want to be in that situation. So stick to the standard. All right. So now let's go to some of the best practices and my recommendation on requirement gathering. When you're gathering requirements, the first step, you must identify key stakeholders, the persons who have vested interest in this dashboard or project you want to build. These key stakeholders are people like the ones who consume the dashboard, who make use of it, the ones who actually make decisions based on the report you're giving. Understanding them makes a lot of things easier for you. It makes you understand how you want to create your dashboard, especially for them to consume, so you know how they consume their dashboard. If you know how they consume their dashboard, you will be able to understand how to actually design the interface. And the step two, you need to ask the right question. Once you have ascertained who the stakeholders are, then go ahead and ask the right question. What do you want to achieve in this project? What are the KPIs? What decision do you want to make? What problem do you want to solve? With this information, you will begin to have clarity on where the data that you want to use to solve this problem actually sits. And that leads us to the step three. You need to clarify the scope of this project. Define the scope of this project. Understand what is in and out of the scope of this project. Defining it helps you prevent scope creep, what is called scope creep, and ultimately ensures that the deliverables stay within the project goal. You don't want to go outside what you're supposed to do, the project goal that was defined at the beginning. This is what requirement gathering helps you achieve. And number 4, document everything. Again, document everything. This is your evidence that you actually know what you're doing. You did it. This is also your security, your proof that you actually did the right thing. You follow the standard procedure. And of course, there is also a time when you also need to sign off your project. You must document everything. As a matter of fact, documenting your requirement gathering should be a standard. I understand some use just email correspondence, but I will strongly recommend both email correspondence and having a living document somewhere where you collaborate with other stakeholders to bring about a final project, to refine the project within that document. Document everything. Don't leave anything to chance. Document every part of your conversation. This is a standard practice. It will speak for itself when the time comes. And step 5 is validate the requirement. So when you have documented everything, gathered, discussed about the goal, known the stakeholders, do everything you needed to do, you need to validate that what you have collected is correct before you even start to pull the first data. Validate your requirement. It is important. That leads us to step 6. Communicate regularly. You cannot not communicate. You can't leave anything to chance. You can't just go and believe that things are okay. Whether it's a one-off project for a freelancer or you are doing it consistently for your company where you are a full-time staff, communication is a very crucial part of a data analyst skill. Communicate regularly. Jump into a call. Ask questions. Anywhere you are confused, ask the right question. I can tell you, you will not get it wrong if you keep communication open for any project you are delivering. I will give you a real life scenario. I got this client during the days when I was on Upwork doing freelancing. This was a high-paying ticket, and it was meant to be a full-time contract position on Upwork. Honestly, I was so eager to deliver. He asked me, how is my storytelling skill? I said, excellent. And he even said, how is it within Power BI? I said, it's so fantastic. That is my area of strength. I deliver premium within this space. And he was so impressed. And he gave me a go. He gave me a data set, defined the scope, the goal, and the requirements. He gave everything to me in a document and sent it to me. Give me about a week. Go and analyze this data, bring out a report, and tell us your findings. I actually went. I was happy. Giving me time to deliver this, that's also great to me. I went in, analyzed this data, built a very shiny and beautiful dashboard, and returned to him. He looked at it. He paid me for the interview, which is usually what you get on Upwork. When they give you activity, sometimes they pay you. He paid me for that. The same amount I would have earned, he paid me hourly for the hours I actually put in to deliver that task. And he closed the contract, of course. He gave me a 4.75. So I lost 0.25. Do you know what that means? That 0.25 star cost me that contract. What was the problem? He said, Kingsley, you've got the skill, but you've got to stay within the scope of the project. Hopefully we'll meet again in the future. Keep trying. I found another person who actually stayed within the scope and still deliver as much as you delivered. You have a strong skill, but you need to learn to stay within the scope of the project. That was so painful because that was the only interview I needed for that job. And this is a job I will be able to deliver really well, seamlessly. But I lost it because I didn't stay within the scope. And you know what? I didn't even ask questions. So you can see where requirement gathering is so important. I encourage you to always stick to the standard procedure. Requirement gathering is a very important phase of this asking stage of data analysis process. Use it. It's a tool. Use it. Document every of your process. Ask questions. Keep communication open. Understand who your stakeholders are. Understand this project scope. Stay within the project scope and deliver premium within the time allotted to you. And thank you. See you until we meet again. Keep on analyzing.